Alrighty, here we go, guys, and welcome. This is what we are going to be looking at today. There's a couple of different lists that we are, of course, going to be looking at. There's going to be three in particular. Now we're going to be going into Amber Emerald, which is looking rather interesting. Some pirate action that we're going to be editing and taking a look at. And then finally, some set 7 insanity that is Amethyst Steel. One of my favorite color combinations. It's something that is going to be very interesting. So, for those of you who are wondering, of course, whether or not these are, or where to take a look at these deck lists for yourself, that's going to be down in the description below. All of the Dreamborn Inc. decks are located on my profile, which is listed down below. So let's go ahead and dive in and see what we actually got. Now, first and foremost, I do want to dive into this version of Amethyst Steel. We actually have a pretty good curve here. Everything, of course, going a bit more on the aggro side, which is going to be rather interesting to be able to get things done. Now, you're taking a look and you're thinking also at the same time, our ink count is actually pretty good. We do have, an Olaf here to help counter the Steel Song, especially the Cinderella coming turn 1 in that case. We do have some docks for the card draw. There's a little bit of balance that kind of needs to be here a little bit as well. Now, we also have the Honey Marin, which is going to be an interesting one as well. When you play this character, if an opponent has an exerted character in play, gain 1 lore. Pretty much a guarantee of 1 lore right there. Not too shabby right there. I do want to also bump up the Maleficence up to 3, especially with our inkable count being still pretty good in this case. I do really like where that's at. And so that's looking pretty good in this case. Now, of course, we have the regular things like the Madam M snakes. We have... like I said, though, Olaf is a pretty good option, but really just for that kind of matchup. Otherwise, he's a 1-3. He might be able to quest off twice, and also be able to give the opponent the ability to attack it or have to attack in twice, which can be really helpful. Also is a great option to be boosted with Crab to be able to take something out. That's always very handy as well. Giant Cobra is going to be probably one of the newest cards and probably one of the strongest cards in this set. Why is that, would we say? Well, first and foremost, Giant Cobra in and of itself is just pure insanity. Being able to discard a card, and then when it comes into play, when you discard that card, you are able to gain 2 lore automatically. That's a lot. Especially at the end game, even on the way towards the end game, that can be a lot. Gaining the 2 lore, that's pretty much the same thing as a goat being in and out of play like that as well, and it's just given right up front, which is really nice as well. As you can notice too, that we don't necessarily have any genies in this situation. Genies are very good, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's too easily countered. Biggest thing is when someone comes in with a genie, right when it comes in and attacks, I pretty much immediately try to do everything in my power to get it taken out. Namely with Zeus's or things of that nature, because if they pay 4 to get a genie out and draw the 1 card, that can really slow them down. In that case, it's just not something that's really worth their time. So I try to slow them down in that regard. The White Rose, generally that's one that I do run 3 of. It's very nice to be able to have, but it's not necessarily something that I'm really wanting. It's good to have the 1 lore when it comes into play, sure. And the 3/3 is a great stat line, but other than that, it's not all that special. But it can really be a game difference, especially at that late game. And so... Now, we also have the Merlin Goat, the Merlin Rabbit. We also have the Queen here. Choose 3 cards from the opponent's discard and put them at the bottom of their deck to gain 3 lore. If any Princess's cards were moved this way, gain 4 lore instead. Now, that's a pretty good win con right there in that case as well. Now, one thing that's interesting is that we do have some actually pretty good support in here, things to consider to add as well. The Cusco is actually a really interesting add during your turn. Whenever 1 card is put into your inkwell, you may return chosen character, item, or location with cost 2 or less to their player's hand. Then that player draws a card. That might be a good option for you to be able to also bounce something back in that case. Now, and I get the need of really wanting to go ahead and try to get certain, the low lore in this case to keep it low to the ground. I get that. I still think the Bagheera in this case is too good to be ignored for this next set. Yes, it's a 5 cost. That does hurt a little bit. Not too much, though. And then it comes in as bodyguard, and then during an opponent's turn, when this character is banished, deal 2 damage to each opposing character. So it's an Inkable Swords that is also a 4/3 stat line, and it's when it's banished. Not that it has to be like a Robin Hood or something when it's banished in a challenge or anything, just when it's banished in general. And that is a pretty great thing to have. Now, we have a couple of good options here as well. Like I said, we are playing the new Honey Marin, which is a great addition. The Iago is okay, being a 4/6 and vanish, There are rulings on this card as well at this point, too, to where it's like if you play a Brawl and you target Iago, it has to target a targetable target, for lack of a better term. So, you can't just play something that has to target, a character with 2 or less attack. You can't go ahead and just target the Iago, even though it's an invalid target and nothing would happen. And so the queen right here is a really interesting add-on, especially it being a one-of. It still is a great stat, being a 4/3, so unless you have something that can remove it or even bounce it back, you're going to be finding yourself in a little bit of trouble, which can be really awesome to be able to have. Now, this is one that I've actually been wondering as well, restoring the crown. This is something that I've been really wondering about, and this is something that I would even want to run a one of as well, because it's like, ooh, if you can go ahead and exert everything and then go ahead and attack in, that's going to be a very interesting combo that is just looking really nice right now. So I'm going to be curious to see about what that's going to be able to do for us. I almost want to even run a one of in this case just because of how good it is. This whole set alone is already looking pretty good. I still think we do want to take down the Olafs. I understand the reason why with the Olafs. I just don't necessarily agree with it in this case. I would almost even want to run even a little bit of Tinkerbell just again to going on the evasive run. Especially on things like this, people will go ahead and target the Tinkerbells or things that are evasive with your removal. So when you get into the late game, you have a lot better chance of being able to go ahead and get things moving. So I am going to take out a Calhoun. I do think I like the Calhoun matchup a lot, and I like the resist line as well. But sometimes when you roll into too many of them in your hand at once, it can hurt a little bit more than it actually helps. This is still a great build. I'm loving this. And I do want to also do 4 friends on the other side just for that consistent card draw. That can be very helpful. I mean, there's a lot of really fun things to be able to look at here. The Yzma is a great stat line as well, but again, you have to wait 1 turn. There's not necessarily anything that allows them to use their... There's a way for them to be able to have Russian stuff, but there's not necessarily a way for them to be able to use their actions, which can be a little bit difficult. I would also even like to try to test a mid-range as well to see how this ends up going for us. Especially because we would probably be running the Elses, but in this case, this is almost just a race, which is why I would also even run, the 3 of the Maleficents in this case. But again, like I said, our curve is actually looking pretty good, and I do really want to test 1 restoring the crown, because that could be the game changer to really solidify the game, because if you have even 3 or 4 out onto the board, and then you exert all of your opponent's characters and just attack in on them, that's pretty solid. That's something that's worth taking a look at. Now, of course, this Ana is also something that has been seeing a little bit of play as well. It's still something to definitely keep in mind, because when it comes into play, you can exert 1 of their ready characters, which can be a pretty big game changer as well. Now, people are thinking also back doing Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom. While that is good, it's uninkable. And if you have too many of those in the beginning of your hand, it just hurts. Last thing I technically would still like to add, even though this is a bit more of a rush-style deck, I think I would still go to Zeus in this case. Just maybe 3. I would go 3. Our inkable count is at 17. We'll take that down a little bit. It's like I don't necessarily think... Yeah, we'll take out the restoring the crown a little bit. Maybe we do take out... Or let's go ahead and go snake down to 3. In that case. Because I don't necessarily hate snake. But it just kind of slows us down a little bit. You know, that's not necessarily anything that I necessarily hate, but even removing Snake in this more aggro build, because we're just trying to gain lore as fast as we can, technically. And to be able, and to bouncing something back, I mean, it helps when you go ahead at the end game and you can bounce goat. You play a goat, gain a lore, bounce the goat, gain a lore, play it again the following turn, gain a lore. You know, that's 3 lore right there, which can be a really big game changer, and that can be very helpful with the Snake. Still don't know if I quite like it. I would almost even be okay with adding 2 of the queen just to get a little bit more consistency there. To try to at least get her going there on getting the 3 lore. There's also even there's a lot of princesses that are going to be here on the turn. And so I'm going to be very curious as to what that is. So let's go... I still think we go 3 crab. I think we do remove the tinks in that case. That's going to be a placeholder. I do really like it. I think we do go also 3 Chernobyls in this case as well. We have 10 that we'll be able to pull. That's a 1 in 6 chance at the start. Yeah, it's a 1 in 6 of give or take. So, you know, the ability of having that one of those 1-drops in our opening hand is going to be pretty high. I think we're going to have actually a pretty good curve. And of course, we even could test this deck on Dreamborn. We have everything that we need. We just need to remove 2 more cards. Let's go Pete, just to be safe. Otherwise, I think we're actually pretty much good. I don't want to necessarily remove a Diablo just because if those do get targeted by the Cinderella, we draw a card anyway, and it's good card draw regardless. It's like I'm almost just tempted just to go down to 2 snakes. I get it. I get why it's there. I've just never quite been a fan. That's personal preference, personally. So, anyway. So that's kind of what we're looking at there in that deck. So let's go ahead. So this is definitely going to be a lot more of an aggro style deck than it is a mid-range, but I mean, these are just so good to be able to get onto your board. So if you're able to go ahead and get things starting to move here, there's a lot of fun that is to be had. So I mean, first and foremost, the Maleficents, those are mainly going to be taken out by the early removal of actions, but again, I'm okay with them using a action or something to be able to take out the Maleficent to stop at the 2-draw. That is a very nice option to be able to do. Now, that doesn't make me mad at all. And if the Maleficent even is able to quest once, then that's a great turn 1 for you, getting you that 2 lore early on. After that, of course, we do have the gaining of the lore, being able to gain 1 lore. We're running 3 of those just because, I mean, hey, that can be another win con at the end game, and that's going to be one of the biggest things because end game is what really Amethyst Steel kind of struggles with. Getting that last little bit of lore to really take it over the top, especially once your opponents start getting the control game. With that being said, too, we got the Snakes, the Calhouns, Docs for card draw, Smee as well for the lore gain, Serpent for the lore gain as well, being able to discard a card. Merlin Crab, White Rose, Goat, Pete, Merlin Rabbit, the Queen, and I really want to see what this Queen can do. I'm half tempted to even print it out even and see what we're able to do. The Bagheera also is one that I am going to be extremely curious in seeing what it is able to do. Because again, that is just going to be a grab your swords that can just go ahead and wipe the board right here, right now. Especially going against a Amber deck. You could do a lot of damage. just with Bagheera being taken out. And if not, if they don't want to take him out, great. He has Bodyguard, and on top of that, he can quest for 2. So again, we do want to do the Along Came Zeus's for the board control. I love the friends on the other side in case we get in trouble, because the rabbit, the goats can both be able to sing for that. And that can be a lot of really great options. So, the next deck that we are going to be looking at is going to be a Pirates deck. Now, Pirates actually got a lot of support in this. There's a couple of deck... I'm running this over with Solo Falcon. And Solo Falcon, gave a couple of good feedback notes on this deck as well. First and foremost, Sticky Mickey is definitely going to need to be needed here. Just because, being able to get the 1-drop, opening up with more of a 1-drop as well. Bounce necessarily wasn't one that we needed. Same with Hypnotize. Hypnotize wasn't one either. Bounce is still a nice one, because if you go ahead and you bounce back something, you can bounce back one of your 1 costs for an 8 cost, which is really nice to be able to get that done. And so that's a nice change right there, but I get why we won't necessarily want to have that. And then lastly, as well, opening up with a dock, or putting 3 docks. I don't think I will ever play with 4 docks in my deck. The main reason for that is because if you open up with too many docks in your early hands, it just hurts. If you need to start inking cards and you have a dock in a hand, it just... I don't know. It just makes me mad. That's just how it is. But anyway, so it's a pretty good option here. And I think that's really the only 2 main suggestions that we had here. And then we also just need to increase the 1-drops, the Improvise, the Prepare to Board even. Now, I'm okay with also doing 3 Prepared to Boards. Because we just need more so the actions, but we also need the card draw. That's the hard part. And so this is a really interesting deck build, because especially what it's trying to do, of course, is get, first and foremost is the SME here. The SME is just pretty much the game changer here. Whenever you play an action that isn't a song, you may ready chosen pirate character. Awesome. If you can go ahead and get that out with Donald First Mate, then Donald can go ahead and quest for 3. And there was times in the early game I went turn 3 Donald, turn 4 SME, had Donald go ahead and quest, then played Improvise, ready Donald, had him quest again, and I was up 6 lore in the beginning. That's pretty good. Even if you can go also turn 2 SME and whatnot and get things starting to quest, it can be very good. This next set also is going to be having a lot of items. There's items are back, and that's just how it is going to be. So a Pete in this situation is going to be a really great situation for you as a player, just being whenever you play an action that isn't a song, you can banish a chosen item. Cool. Sign me up. So, totally get that. The Bagheera, again, just because it's such a good card. Pete's Space Pirate has a shift for 3. That's also why we added the Game Referee. 1, the Game Referee stops action, so you go turn 3 Pete, turn 4 Space Pirate. Cool. We're also going to be taking out the Owl Island, even though it is good to grab the 3 lore. We just need to be able to, of course, get more actions into our hands. So let's go ahead and actually look up a couple of more actions that we could probably put into this deck. Now, of course, we're not going to be wanting to play a Return of Hercules, but we're really going to be wanting to add things that are going to help us. You came back. I think we do want to up to 4. The Hypnotic Deduction might even be pretty good. Draw 3 cards and then put 2 cards from your hand to the top of the deck in any order. That's not necessarily bad. That's a +1 right there, which could be pretty good, and that's something to consider. It is inkable as well, just in case. And so we do like the Improvises. The main reason why I added Hypnotize was because of the card draw in that case. A deck that someone was playing was Do It Again to be able to grab stuff, but I mean, we're running 20 actions anyway, so we're in a good spot. Nothing to really worry about in that case. And so this is not necessarily anything that is too crazy to be able to add. That's the hard part. We don't necessarily have... We have the babooms. You know, we could even add the fire the cannons. Fire the cannons is a great option, at least, if anything. And so it's going to be curious to see what then is going to be there. And so this is like some good options, you know, just to try to get some damage going, get some board control going as well. I still like the 2 of the prepare to board. We're at 14 uninkables, which isn't bad at all. So the Daisy's, unfortunately, the Daisy isn't going to be doing much. Just because there are no actions in this case to be able to do anything with. And so that's going to be a little bit difficult in this case, but still, it's a pretty good deck. And I think it's going to be not half bad. We're going to get some things a little bit lower on the card count, but for now, that's going to be what it's at. Now, this is probably one of the decks that I am most excited for. This is a powerhouse. The biggest thing is, yes, what you're seeing there. We are running 30 uninkables. That seems like a lot, and it is. But the biggest thing and the nicest thing about this, too, is that you're going to be able to go ahead and run this deck efficiently at a very low cost. You have some Clarabelle, which can come out turn 5. It's a little bit hard to be able to get the Clarabelle out, not going to lie. But 0 to hero definitely does help out with that. Count the number of characters that you have in play. You pay that amount less for the next character you play this turn. And so, you know, you could get, you know, the Tramp out, you know? You could get the Clarabelle out. Now, one that I absolutely love in this deck, and that really helps take it to the next level, is the Shere Khan. You're already going to be pretty low on card draw in this case. And so, with doing that and adding the Shere Khan, odds are you're not going to necessarily be, you know, removing things from your hand. But the ability to be able to quest for 4 is absolutely insane. And on top of that, the ability to also go ahead and it being a 4/4 stat line makes it so difficult to try to get things taken down. And so that's exactly why we absolutely love playing this deck, or this card in this deck. Now, the biggest thing is we did play a little bit more of the Minnie Mouses in this case. When you play a character, this character gives us +1 lore this turn. And whenever this character quest, chosen opposing character loses attack equal to the character's lore gain until the start of the next turn. Not necessarily great, especially at least in this deck. It can help, don't get me wrong. It has its place, especially in the early game. But there's just so much for you to try to get going with this deck. You know, and that's going to be the big thing. Now, one of the biggest playmakers of this deck as well is the Lady. Shift for 3. Big deal. Then, when you play this character, you may return up to 2 character cards with cost 2 or less each from your discard and return it to your hand. So go ahead and get a Daisy back. Go ahead and get a Piglet back. Go get a Lilo Make-A-Wish back. Whatever it might be, go ahead and get it back. And then just go ahead and play it. There's not a whole lot of stuff that you necessarily need to do with this deck. It's a very, very solid deck. And we're going to be looking into a couple of gameplays on Ink Table with these decks as well. And so it's just going to be really interesting to see how this ends up doing. So first and foremost, I think we're going to be starting with an Ink deck here of exporting and playing it on Ink Table. Now let's go this one, and I think we should play... Let's go my Ruby Sapphire build, just to see what we end up getting. So we're going to be playing a couple of games just to see. I don't have the ability to build these decks online yet. So let's go ahead and get those mold again. That's actually not too bad of an opening here. So let's go ahead and ink. Oh! Where's the redo? Where's the redo? Hate that. I don't have a redo. Where's the redo? Oh, well. F5. And now we start. Okay, let's see. We actually have a pretty good start here. Let's go ahead and save the queen for endgame. We don't necessarily need Fox. We know what we're going against. Again, though, we just more so need speed, so... Okay, so let's go ahead and ink a Pete. Play a Maleficent. She should actually be able to quest for a decent amount. So that'll be interesting to be able to see. Okay, so let's go ahead and ink a goat in this case. Let's go ahead and play our 2 1-drops. And then quest. And pass for turn. Okay, so now we have Sharkatipo coming out. That's going to be able to take out a couple of characters. Not necessarily anything that we are worried about here. Let's go ahead and ink Crab in this case. And I think we need to play that. Gain a lore. Quest. So we're going to 5 just like that. And then we're going to quest. We are going to pop. Even though I do think that they're going to attack the Maleficent instead, just to be safe. We, of course, won't be worried about that. Or won't be worried about that. So let's go ahead and then pass. And I mean, right now we're 7 turn 3. That's a crazy amount of lore to be able to have to do. They are still ramping. They missed the Hiram. And then, yep, there goes the Maleficent. Still not bad, necessarily. Now, of course, we're going to be able to be at 4. I think in this case, we still just keep going. We'll play that to gain a lore. And then we will also play a Smee to start gaining lore. We'll quest. With that, go to 9. And then we will challenge in on the Tipo. So that when we lose the Diablo, you know, well, at least that's it. You know, everything else will be safe for now. They could also still be playing a Maui Shark. Ooh, a McDuck Manor actually is still a pretty good card to get out onto the field. So, yeah, we're going to draw a card. That's going to actually really help too. We're going to have a Pete to be able to go out on turn 7. So let's go ahead and they're at 6. So we don't want them to go ahead and get that going. And then I think we just go ahead and challenge into that. And then game 3. And that should slow things down a little bit. And so that's one thing that I'm going to be curious about. But right now it's 12-2. Again, though, once we get into the late game, this can be a little bit difficult. Now, that stopped them from being able to play that action. That's huge. So let's go ahead and play. Or I guess Pete could have sung that. Dang it. I wish there was an undo. Let's go ahead and... Oh, we got to be very careful here. Let's go ahead and ink a Chernabog. Let's go ahead and play. And gain the lore. And then I think we just quest with everything. I think that'll... Because, I mean, if they do have a Be Prepared, they have 2 cards in hand. So the chance of them having a Be Prepared necessarily isn't the highest. But here's the nice part. It's like, with the Cobra out onto the battlefield, even if they do, we'll be at 19. Yep, there's the Be Prepared. That's fine. So... We'll be at 19, and then they'll have to board... Ooh. We got game. Okay. So let's go ahead and play a card. Cobra. Discard. That. And pass. There we go. And it's a 4/4, so there's no real easy way they can, yep, go ahead and do the Be Prepared. Doesn't quite matter. We'll just go ahead and play the goat. Gain a lore. Nah, we don't want to gain a lore. Let's load new decks. All right, guys. So... That's the cool part about this. Now, what we are going to be doing here instead as well, we are going to be going back to try out this little aggro deck. Now, this is another one of my favorite aggro decks, and that's kind of the theme for this whole set. It's actually pretty fun, and there's a lot of weird insanity moves that you can do. Again, the 30 uninkable is a little bit scary, but that's not something to bat an eye at. That's not something to be worried about. So we're going to be going that one. Let's go ahead and go select, let's go select player 2 on my ramp and bash. It's going to be a Okay, so it's actually not too bad. I still think we want to put the tramp back. We'll put the phlegm back. And then we have some good uninkables. Double Daisy. Oh my gosh, double Daisy, double Lilo. Alright, let's go ahead and ink the Ursula. Let's go ahead and play a Daisy. And then let's pass. And again, yo, Sevi, testing some set 7 stuff. We are going full aggro here for the stuff today. So good to have you. Now there's a tramp. Not meaning to call him out by any means. I think, yeah, in that case, let's go ahead and ink the tramp. Then we just go full aggro on this, especially because they're trying to ramp. We don't necessarily care about that. This is more of like the late game, not the board control. So they added Tinkerbell to hand. That's not bad. That can hurt us, but it's going to be too little too late. Good, they got the ramp going. And the Tinkerbell inked. Okay, that's one less thing for us to worry about. Playing a Popsicle as well is going to be really good for them to be able to do. Another tramp. Let's go ahead and ink that card. Then again, we are going to just go boom. And, let's play a card. Yeah, let's try that. Now, look at the insanity. Oh my gosh, we actually could. But we don't have the 2 ink, unfortunately. Alright, what are we going to hit? Survey says... Oh, sail the Azurite Sea to the bottom. Sign me up for the next war. Okay, nice. And again, this is just full-on aggro, and we'll try a couple different decks so you guys can see just how fast this deck can move. But I mean, right now we're going into our turn 3, and our board state is already insane. Now, again, at the same time, one thing that we do definitely have to worry about is what your opponent is going to be able to do with your board. Right now, he's going to, of course, be able to attack in on this kind of stuff. That's not necessarily going to be anything crazy. Now, I want to play this lady, which is why I inked the Clarabelle in this case, because that will allow us to fish out 2 characters that we are probably going to be losing here. Smee is probably going to be going into Lilo in this case. And so if we're able to fish that out with Lady, now again, we have 30 uninkables. Half the deck is uninkable. Alright, let's do it again. What are they gonna draw? A Popsicle to the bottom. Thank you, good sir. Thank you for playing. We will be here all week. Now, we're at 15. So we're already threatening game on board. And a Fishbone Quill to the bottom. Go! And then we pass. So, I mean, again, this is just such a fast-moving deck. And so, yep. Bye, Lilo. Now we need to get an inkable. Even if not, we have the game on the board. Oh! Alright, let's see what we actually would draw with Invite to the Ball. Oh, nice. That's actually a pretty good... But that's another lady. Kind of sucks. But you guys get the idea. And so, yeah, you get to see what this deck basically can do. So, what are they going to draw? A Smee, not bad. But again, this is such a fast-moving deck. Just very unique kind of color combinations here. Really fun deck. Boards here to the bottom. And then that is game. And so, yep, this is exactly why... Hello there! How's it going, Solo? So yeah, that is why this aggro deck is just so insane. So, let's instead go that deck. Let's go another aggro deck just to kind of see how they can compare. And so with that being said, now we do have a lady in our hand. We still definitely want some more options. I still want to technically keep the Ursula for ink options. That's not too bad. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and ink an Ursula. Play a Daisy. Or, oh, we should play a tramp first. Or the lady first. Anyway. Food for thought. But next turn, of course, we're going to be playing that anyway. So Daisy's going to, of course, be going in. Ooh, a Piglet in this case. Let's go ahead and ink the other Ursula. Let's play. And then turn 3, we'll go with the Donald in that case. Yeah, we'll definitely want to go Donald. What are they going to draw? Let's find out. Oh, nice. That's actually pretty good. So I want to build these decks and test on Pixelborn as well, but for sake of showing you guys basically what they can do in a controlled environment, that'll really help. So, ooh, and there's the Lady Shift. Okay, so let's go ahead and ink. I think, yeah, unfortunately we do have to ink the Tramp. We're going to go the Donald. We're going to activate Bodyguard in that case, and then we're going to add 1. Now we are going to quest with him, go up to 5. Go up to 6, sorry. Then we're gonna challenge into the Maleficent. Gotta take it out. We can't stand for that. Also, we don't want to technically give them more cards either. They're not running very many actions. Oh, that's good. Giant Cobra, you'd say. And that's a 4/4 too, so that's going to be taking out a lot. Now, of course, we do have some protection with the Donald in this case, so that's going to be good. The unfortunate part, Donald's not necessarily going to be doing all that much. Still, that's not bad. I'm okay with also playing another Donald in this case, just to be annoying. We'll go Bodyguard. We'll go ahead and give that to Piglet again. Double Bodyguard, that's going to be annoying for the Giant Cobra. Do we race? Do we race with the Daisy? I think we just quested out. I mean, I probably should have attacked into one of the Diablos. But, then again, the more lore, the better. So we're at 13. They added a fox to hand. Oh, no. Yeah, it's a good thing we quested. So, I mean, both our bodyguards. Any actions in this deck, just invite to the ball and find my way hero, whatever that song is called. Let me actually look. We are running invited to the ball and 0 to hero. And then in the other deck that's also on here, the only actions that we are running are friends on the other side and along came Zeus. So not a whole lot in this case. Oh, they needed to be playing the rabbit. That's on the bot this case. Okay, so let's see. We can this time go the lady. Let's go Inkakar, or let's play the lady and play the Lilo. And of course, that's going to give us another bodyguard questing. Yeah, let's just race to the finish here. And again, this is showing you just, I mean, how fast this deck can move. We're at 19, just like that. Now, of course, in case they do run the Be Prepared, but I mean, they're at 4 right there. And so the fact that they're not able to really even do a whole ton of removal now, of course, they have to attack in on us. And again, though, this bot is making a lot of mistakes. If we maybe selected him, You Came Back also would be very spicy. That might even be something that we would add to this deck. That would be insane. Even with a two quester. Or we also have the Shere Khan in here. Yeah, there's the Find My Way. So this is a cool one. Okay, so you go ahead. You have one of your characters seeing this. Cool. Everything now costs 4, or your character now that you're going to play next costs 4 less. So we can go ahead and just play the Shere Khan for free. Just like that. And of course, that's how you get the Tramp in. That's how you get the Clarabelle and things of that nature as well. Anyway, so you guys get the idea. Anyway, Piglet, you earned it. You get to quest. But you're right, though. That would be really interesting to try to add in some spice like that. It'd be really cool to be able to add in. And I mean, we already have 30 uninkables. What's another 3? You know? But yeah, You Came Back. That is an interesting one to add for sure. I would add 3 in this case. It's like at that point I would take out the Flynn Riders. It's good, but not great. I only added it just because of the Anyway, and then the Ursula Deceiver is okay. I like the Shere Khans. Ah! What did I click on? What did I? Oh. Thanks. Anyway. Anyway, okay, so I love the 0 to hero, though. And that's why it's like, do you run more than 2 0 to hero? That's the question. You know, because now we're getting to about 7 actions, so invited to the ball might be a little bit less relevant. I would even maybe take out, yeah, and it costs 3 for you came back. That can be a really big game changer right there. And so that's why I like the you came back here. It's a really strong option to be able to get things taken care of. I love the new Lady as well. Lady is just such a great card in this deck. So we're at 60. I would also even maybe add one more 0 to hero again. Again, we're already at a ton of uninkables, who cares? But you see how efficiently this deck can run without a lot of ink. You're still not necessarily running into a lot of trouble. I would play maybe a little bit less of Tramp in this case. Yes, he's good, and when you play this character, you may draw a card for each other character you have in play, then choose and discard that many cards. Just a good hand refresher. But again, if you're not running up or able to get a whole lot of cards, he might not necessarily be the best. He also doesn't have a shift target. Yeah, and so that's the thing. 0 to hero can be such a good card add-on. And so it's like I almost even want to just remove a Tramp. I love playing 61 cards. I don't know why. In any other card game, I don't like running 61 cards. Magic the Gathering, I'm always running 60. For some reason in Lorcana, though, I'm stuck in being like, well, I love 61. I don't know what it is. The Shere Khan, though, man. If you came back to Shere Khan and gain 8. Imagine what you're already at turn 4, let alone. But, I mean, there's a lot of insanity there that can be had with that. So, anyway, that's the decks right there. Those are the 3 decks. I do think out of the most of them, the Pirates is the weakest one. It has a little bit of trouble, but I mean, still, you've got a lot of really good stuff. I still think, though, I would remove the Daisy Pirate Captain as well, just because, while it is a captain, don't get me wrong, we are playing 0 locations, so it just doesn't fit in this deck. So I just wish there were more, when you play an action draw card kind of stuff, I wish. So when you 0 to hero, you are trying to bring out what? Shere Khan, Clarabelle, your higher cost stuff, your Tramp. Because if you have 4 characters out and you only have 3 ink, and you have one of your characters sing the and then you're able to play your 7 cost Tramp for 3, that's where it comes in. The Clarabelle, same thing. If you come out on turn 3 and whatnot, and you have 4 characters out on the board, you can turn 3, turn 4 Clarabelle, and that's when your opponent already has a decent amount of cards in hand, and when you might not. And so that's why it's such an interesting option for you to be able to go for. That's why, like, this is a interesting deck list, and why I am so curious with how this is going to run. It's fun. And it just moves so fast. And then, of course, the Chernabog, just to be able to really close out the end game. You might as well. I would probably, if anything, move the Chernabog out. But I mean, it is just such a fun card. When you play this character, shuffle all character cards into your from your discard into your deck. Awesome. So anyway, this is a really interesting deck. Pretty cheap as well. And so it's going to be really interesting to see. Now, of course, also the Shere Khan is only a rare. You don't have much to really worry about with that. Now, same with the Tramp. He's rare. Lady's going to be, not even a rare. So, and the new Lady, of course, is, common. Okay, sign me up. Like, this is a cheap deck when all things are considered, And so that's one of the coolest things about this deck, and it is consistent. You think having 33 uninkables would be, a detriment to your deck? No, not at all. Once you get to 3 ink, cool. I mean, look at that curve. You got, you got a couple 7/7 costs. Cool. That's fine. You're just gonna ink them if you can't get them out. So let's go ahead and play one more game. On ink table with this deck, and then we'll go. And the thing is too, it's like going second might be a little bit difficult, but even still, not too bad. I still think, of course, we would probably remove the Minnie Mouse entirely. Anytime that I run into the Minnie Mouse, I don't necessarily like it. So this is going to be interesting. We do have a You Came Back, which is going to be interesting. And there we go. Boom. Okay, nice. So let's go ahead and ink a tramp. Let's go ahead and play a daisy and pass. So nice. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and I hate to do this. Ink that. Go ahead and play that. Go ahead and quest. And let's get you a card. They're going to get a card. Yeah, Pete. That's fine. We don't really play too many actions. That might slow us down come turn 4. But I mean, right now we're doing good. We're going to just attack. Oh my gosh, yeah, we really need to attack into that Maleficent. Don't get me wrong. But then again, we don't have any inkables. Alright, so let's go there. Let's go there. Let's quest with Piglet. Get him to 5. And then let's go ahead and challenge one of the Maleficents. The lady, of course, is probably going to go ahead. Now we need an uninkable. We have 52 cards. We have a lot of uninkables, so the odds of us pulling are slightly higher. Ooh, that's interesting. So the lady is just going to be attacking in so that we can keep gaining a lot of lore. Now they have a way to be able to... There's the Clarabelle. Okay, awesome. Let's go ahead and ink. Let's quest. Then let's play a You Came Back. Boom. Quest. Boom. Get me that. Come on. And then there we go. Ooh, a Bagheera in hand. And there we go. Boom, just like that. And then we are going to challenge into that. And it's like, cool. Then it's like, they would have to have a fox in hand. And yeah, of course they're not going to take out the Piglet. That would be the only logical thing to do. But anyway, that's game. Just like that. Oh, and we could even Shere Khan it. Anyway, let's go ahead and just quest Piglet. And quest Curse Merfolk. There we go. Game. And they didn't have a fox in hand. Cool. And even if we got in more trouble, of course, we would have been able to play a You Came Back to get 6 lore. I mean, that's the thing. Take a look at that. If we had to, we could have gained 3 more lore that turn as well. We could have gained 5 more lore because we never quested with the Daisy. So even if we were at, yeah, that's crazy. So there's just, it moves fast to where even, a lot of people aren't running a lot of quick removals with this. And so it's like, yeah, same. So anyway, let's go ahead, ink a Clarabelle, play a Lilo, and pass. So this is probably one of my favorite decks for this next set. Just because it moves so fast. So we got a lot of options here. Then we are going to play a Piglet for religious reasons. The only problem is knowing this bot, but we do have the ink, yeah, so we'll be able to get 2 out regardless next turn. Because we'll be able to do a Lilo and a Lilo. We'll have to ink either our Donald or something, but even still. Yeah. I get that. That's smart. I would even do that too. And your opponent is not just... I mean, exactly. Your opponent is not expecting a you came back. And so let's go ahead and play. And play. And then just like that too. Just like that, actually. I think we wait a turn. Why? Why do we wait a turn on questing? Because if we do, then we can have our 2-cost Lilo sing this, pay 3 and get Lady out. Or pay 2 and get Lady out. Let's go. Okay, so what we're going to do, yeah, that's actually smart. Let's quest with the Piglet, because he's going to get destroyed. That's fine. We're okay with that. We'll still sing that out. And then Lady will go ahead and fetch us our Lilo and our Piglet back from the grave. And then no Captain out onto the board. He's gone. Awesome. So then what we are going to do is go ahead and sing. Ta-da! And play a card. Boom. And then we return both those characters to hand. Just like, you know, for no reason. And then quest. Like, it can get crazy. And so, again, I'm perfectly fine with that. Now we also have the Lilo rotation if we want to get Lilo back out onto the field. We won't in this case, but... Now, of course, we could have the Lady just go in. No. Let's play a Piglet. Let's play a Lilo. Let's challenge into the dock. The Cobra should be attacking into us. I'm taking a risk here with the Piglet in this case on the card draw. But we're going against an aggro deck. Oh, it's living. Oh, it would not be. You would not be doing a card draw for that. No. Ooh. No. And then let's go ahead and... Oh, that's tough. I think, yeah, in that case, because we could attack it. Yeah, let's attack into Giant Cobra. And then let's quest, go to 10, 11, 12. And pass. Oh, that's interesting. That's pretty good, actually. I like that. Yep. So this is where it can be a little bit difficult. So let's not activate that. Oh! So let's go ahead and... Oh, we can't have Lilo sing that! That's interesting. That's interesting. Okay. So we're gonna wait. Got a little bit of time. Because we'll have 8 on the board with Shere Khan coming in and questing. Okay. So, just gotta wait. Play the waiting game. There, that's exactly one card we needed. Now, let's go ahead and inker. Then we might as well just, yeah, play the Shere Khan out. Just straight up. Discard our hand. That's fine. Quest. Boom. And quest. And then we have game on board. Almost. Pass. So, nice. So they'll at least be able to draw a card. Drawing a lot of cards. So we're still... Nice. Yeah, they're doing good on the card draw. I say no, because I'd rather... Oh, that doesn't help. Alright, well, play a card. That's why also I don't like the minis. But, there we go. That's game. That's why I don't like the mini, because especially when you're top decking like that, Anyway. Not too shabby. So, it's looking good. That's probably one of my favorite decks here. And so... Anyway, we'll probably do one more, and then we'll call it good on the stream, guys. But, let's see. Lilo, get rid of the shear, get rid of that, and... Okay, there we go. That's exactly what you want. Okay, let's go ahead and... Ink a Tramp. Yeah, let's ink a Nurse. Let's play, and pass. And I mean, that's going to be crazy, because come turn 3, you know, you're going to be putting 2 cards out. Now, this is a challenge-heavy deck that we're going against now. So let's go ahead, ink Ursula, play a Piglet. We're okay with questing, especially if the Mulan goes into it, because they're running Mulans. Ugh. Inking a Ushu. That's why it's so hard to go against computers. Yeesh, that's not great. So we need one more ink, and then we'll be getting some con out. Ooh, that's pretty good. Should have waited a turn. But that's pretty good. Robin Hood Shift is going to be a little bit scary too, but they only have 2 cards left in hand. That's exactly what we needed. Thank you. And then go ahead and play a card. Discard our hand. That's fine. And now we're already at our max ink that we need. And we're at 9 with a sheer con. So anything else that we really top deck, an invite to the ball would be an interesting one. Because we're, again, not running a whole ton of action. So the odds of us finding characters can be pretty high. The Aladdin's going to quest, and this Aladdin's going to attack in. That's fun. Yeah, discarding a Mickey, though, and this going against this deck. Interesting. Oh, that's not bad. It's a good top deck. And now all of them even have to go into that. Now, of course, I figured he would probably have saved that card till next turn, because then everything has to go into this. And if you don't go into it, then I'm gaining, you know, 6 lore in a turn. Yeah, just go ahead and whole new world me, you know. And the cool part about the Lilo is you can sneak it back on if you need to, if you're worried about getting characters for the Piglet activation as well, because he'll be there the whole turn, and you're okay with paying almost 2 for the 1 more lore. That's awesome. So. Alright, yep, that's going to be game. So, awesome, guys. So, it's feeling pretty good. It's feeling pretty good. So, that's probably the deck that I'm going to be playing next set, for sure. And so I'm going to be curious to see what's going to be going on. But these decks are looking pretty solid. There's some really great gameplay that we've been able to see here. I'm curious on what set 7 is going to bring for us. And the big thing is, too, it even is really good against Ink Geyser decks as well, because you're going to be running low anyway, so they're going to be mainly shutting down. That's going to also be the big thing, too. Going against bounce back decks might be the big weakness of, you know, the Amber. But you're able to play them right back out all the same, that you could almost even outpace them a little bit as well. So if they are playing, you know, the Muses and things like that, oh, cool, go ahead and bounce back, you know, 2 of my cards. they're going to be right back out next turn anyway, you know? And eventually you're going to be running out of actions. So, and then I'm questing. So, it'll be interesting to see what's happening. We are getting ever closer to set 7 being released. I have 2 boxes on order. We're going to be opening them right here as well. So that's going to be a really exciting time and something to look forward to. So with that being said, my friends, thank you so much for being here. It is a bit quicker of a stream today, but with that being said, I mean, it's going to be a fun time in set 7. So anyway, guys, hope you have a good one and good luck. It's going to be a really, really fun set.